The Giants also got the best player in the draft, Malik Nabers. Giants crushed it.
I could not disagree. It was the dumbest pick they could possibly make. I said this yesterday. I knew they were going to do it. It was predictable. They should have traded up to get the quarterback that they wanted. They didn't have the stomach to go all in to get Drake May. So what do? Instead of being smart and trading back and stockpiling some picks because they have many needs, they get sucked into taking a skill position player when they have many other needs. And now they're going to run it back with Daniel Jones. And this is not about Malik Nabers. Whether you think he's going to be the best pick in the draft or not, it doesn't really matter to me. He could be great, just like Odell Beckham Jr. was for a little while. It's a stupid pick. Jerry Reese got himself in trouble by doing it. Dave Gettleman took a running back number 2 overall. This is as dumb a pick as the New York Giants could have made. They needed a quarterback, and if you didn't want the one who was there, you couldn't trade up for one, that's fine. You didn't want the one who was available at 6, then you trade down. You do not take a wide receiver there. I know Giant fans are happy about it because they love fantasy football, and they got a guy that they're excited about. That's great. That's not how you build winning football teams. Your quarterback next year is Daniel Jones. Good luck with that.
Well, I mean, even if they would have taken one of the quarterbacks, Daniel Jones probably still on the team next year.
No, but it would have been over. Like, yeah, he would have been on we would have moved on, and eventually at some point the story would have been, when is Jones getting replaced by the future franchise quarterback? Now they don't have one. I don't care who they take in the second round, third round, it doesn't matter. It's Daniel Jones again, BT. It's the same thing. Year 6, Daniel Jones. Oh, but now he's got the weapons. And then you know what's going to happen? He's going to stink this year, even if they have some success. He's not going to be good enough, and then it's going to be, well, the offensive line wasn't good enough. Wait till next year, year 7, when they get some help for offensive line. It's the same thing with this team. It's not about Nabers the player. It's about the philosophy from the New York Giants. I thought Joe Schoen was smarter than that. This is a disastrous pick because it means Daniel Jones is still going to be the quarterback for the New York Giants.
How do you get so worked up over this?
It's a horrible pick.
Okay, so
I don't understand how you like it.
Well, because I think he's the best player in the draft. I think he's the best player in terms of value. I'm sure some kid in the 3rd round or 4th round going to go on to have a Hall of Fame career. So I'm not talking about value in terms of pure talent. Line him in the slot, line him on the outside. Absolute blazer.
Right.
And an absolute football attitude. So the Giants, who haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since 2018 with Odell, who have a pop gun offense, who can't move the foot. If you spot him 7 yards, they can barely move the chains and get a first down. They bring in a guy who is all ball and all talent at maybe, outside of left tackle and obviously quarterback, the most important position in football in offensively, which they haven't had since Odell Beckham Jr. And you got an issue with this.
Right. Yes, I do.
Why?
They don't have a quarterback. Their offensive line isn't good enough, and they don't have a quarterback. It's a stupid pick. You don't take a wide receiver there. You mentioned it, Odell Beckham Jr. How did that work out? How did Odell Beckham Jr. work out for the Giants? I hated the pick at the time. Same reason. It's not about Odell. It's not about Nabers. It's about taking a wide receiver there when you have other needs, like, I don't know, a quarterback. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. The Giants needed a quarterback. Those idiots took a running back.
So what should they have done last night? So you don't want and done what? Trade with whom and take who?
I said the first choice would have been go all in for Drake May. They did not.
No, you don't know. Patriots love him.
The Patriots said they were open for business.
But that's to entice wacky proposals.
The Giants would have had to blow them away for it. Obviously, they didn't have the stomach for that. Fine, I respect that.
Yep.
Then you either take J.J. McCarthy, and clearly they didn't like him. Fine. So if you don't like McCarthy, then you trade down. I'm not saying force the issue. I've been clear about that. Don't reach for a quarterback. But if the guy that you want is not there, you can't trade up for him, and the guy that is there you don't love, trade down.
If the guy that you do love is there, you stick and you take him. I love it. 877-337-6666. BT and Sound on the Fan. Obvious, who will get to the Knicks later. Let's throw a little Jets on the table here. Listen, I'm not going to go crazy because I obviously understand what the New York Jets did, all right? The Jets, I would have taken Brock Bowers. I absolutely would have. There is no doubt in my mind he's going to be an absolute superstar. That's the guy that I would have taken. Now, I also thought that Bowers was addressing today and tomorrow. There's a thought, you just get the weapons for Aaron Rodgers. You acquiesce to whatever Aaron Rodgers says. No, I didn't really see it that way because I thought obviously he would help this year and he would help years down the road whenever the Jets find the good young quarterback, when and if they do. So they didn't do that. I do. I understand it clearly
I think
because
Rodgers
O-line's been a weakness here.
I think Rodgers, I told you yesterday, I think Rodgers prefers the offensive line.
I mean, he might, but here's the thing. The guy that they drafted last night's not playing. So Aaron Rodgers needs to understand that unless Tyron Smith gets hurt, he's not playing.
What would make you think he would get hurt? I mean, he only...
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, like, if we're talking about catering to Aaron Rodgers' demands, the move that probably would have satisfied that immediately would have been either trade up, get a receiver, take Bowers at 10, or do something along the line, or maybe even take a guard, but not a left tackle, because the kid Olu Fashanu that they took from Penn State, who I do like. Listen, I'm barely grading receiver tape. I'm not even grading. I'm looking at it. I'm not getting into the trenches in the Big Ten, but I do know this: he was a captain. He was the MVP a year ago. All he does is play left tackle. It's not like, well,
he
maybe right side. Maybe he is dominant.
Dominant left tackle.
But he's not playing this week. He's not playing this year.
See, I hate the Giants pick. I love what the Jets
because
did.
You didn't like Bowers from the jump.
No, but it's also about a tight end. Like, we could have a separate argument whether you think Bowers is going to be good or not, and I don't.
And at the end of the day, our opinions we won't know for a couple of years.
Well,
whatever.
Right, which would be fun to see that play out. But that to me is separate than the idea. Same thing. I'm not saying Malik Nabers is going to be a bust. I'm saying I hate taking a wide receiver there. I think it's stupid for a franchise to do that. Idiotic, in fact. However, what the Jets did, not only do they trade back and get more picks, they get a lineman, which is exactly what they need. A dominant left tackle for years to come. Now, how he's going to pan out, who knows? It's the right thought process, though. You lock him in, you pencil him in, you shore up that offensive line that has been patchwork here since Joe Douglas has tried to repair this thing. Jets last had success going back to Mangold and DeBrick. That's how you do this. You build an offensive line, you get a dominant stud left tackle for years moving forward, as opposed to taking a tight end at that spot. I couldn't love this pick more. And the fact that they traded back makes it even more enticing to me. I love what the Jets did.
I like they got some stuff back. So obviously from going 10 to 11, they got a fourth rounder, which is 129. They got a fifth rounder, which is 157. They gave up a sixth rounder, plus obviously number 10 with Minnesota. No, I think that Joe played it smart. I do, but I don't think it was swinging for the fences. I'm not ripping the pick. Like, you're ripping what the Giants did, and that's fine. I don't agree at all, but that's fine. I love what the Giants did. You love what the Jets did, but I don't dislike what the Jets did nearly as much as you dislike what the Giants did, because I understand what they did, and I get it, O-line, and Tyron Smith is 33, 34, left tackle. He's been banged up last couple, really for about 5 or 6 years now, so I understand all that. My only complaint is, and this is the essence of our disagreement yesterday, I think Bowers is transcendent. And if I'm right, then they let a transcendent tight end who is going to help Rodgers and the next quarterback and Garrett Wilson and everybody else, they let him go somewhere else, and they got a guy who wasn't even their number one left tackle on the board.
They didn't even consider the tight end.
I understand that. That was a bit of a smoke screen. I actually got a text last night, same guy who was texting me yesterday. Before they made the pick, they said they're going all-line. I said, don't love it. Texted right back to him. I said, feel like it's a reach, but I understand. It's not egregious. Like, nothing happened last night. Even if, although you think what the Giants did is egregious, from my perspective.
Well, I don't think it's egregious. I think it's stupid.
Well, but it's the same thing. Egregiously stupid, the wrong move. We're splitting hairs. I mean.
Well, I just think it's stupid.
No, I understand that.
Well, like, who's throwing them the football? It's great that you have a wide receiver.
No, but we're saying the same thing in terms of me trying to package what you said. Whether it's a bad move, it's an egregious move, it's a dumb, it's all the same stuff. But I think that the Giants last night told you two things. Number one, like a lot of people think, and I'm one of them, Malik Nabers, not only the best receiver of the three, the best offensive player in the draft. They believe that. Number two,
you think they think he's better than Harrison?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people, kind of think that. And then the other thing is, what they're also telling you is, Daniel Jones going to be playing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now that's
why I hate it.
I understand. That's where I kind of come to your side a bit. But
we talked about this yesterday.
Malik Nabers is a superstar.
But that's,
and they have none.
But you're missing the point.
They don't have any.
So
this isn't the 1950s where you're going to win 13-6. You got to move the ball.
Right. You need a stud receiver, right?
They don't have one.
Right. But you need a stud receiver in today's NFL, right?
What are you going to point out to a team that doesn't have one?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's point to the teams that win.
Yeah.
The Bengals have one.
How did the Chiefs
recently?
How did the Chiefs do?
Well, I mean, listen, that's a little different.
Oh, how's it different?
Because
how the New England Patriots do 20 years ago?
20 years ago doesn't matter. 20 years ago, the NFL was so different.
Right.
20 years ago, tight ends that were getting drafted were Kyle Brady. I mean, Jamar Chase. I mean, look at Justin Jefferson. Look at the guys who moved the needle. The Giants need one. They never have one. They had Odell for 3 years. They got
if you
him.
want to win fantasy football games, sure.
Well,
if you want to win NFL football games, a wide receiver is not of high importance. It's just not. I mean,
I just don't see it that way.
But I don't understand how it's proven
because
otherwise.
There's this thing called getting in the end zone.
Right.
And the guy who catches the ball generally gives you a better chance to do what I just said.
You can also get guys to run the ball in the end zone.
You can. If you want to run it 35 times like they did with Tiki 15, 20 years ago, sure.
Right.
This isn't 2005.
Right. So Nabers is going to be a stud with Tommy DeVito playing quarterback when Daniel Jones gets hurt.
Tommy DeVito's not going to sniff the field.
Why not?
He's not good enough. That's why.
So Drew Lock.
Well, I think it's going to be Jones for a year.
And then when Jones gets hurt, as he always does.
Then it's Drew Lock for a minute.
And then what? What's Nabers going to do then?
Well, but then you address this next year. And when you already have a superstar receiver in place.
But that's the point where what was Odell Beckham Jr.? They had a superstar receiver. What did he get them?
What went wrong with Odell? Think about this. What went wrong?
A lot. But
starting with what?
The point was the team wasn't good enough.
But they were good.
And by the way, they even had a Hall of Fame quarterback.
He wasn't the same guy. You know that. When they go to Green Bay.
He was still a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I got you. But when they went to Green Bay, if Odell and others would have done their job and caught the football, Eli was ready to win that game. They weren't. Yeah. So, they had the receiver. And they didn't do much with him, but they didn't do much with him from a team point of view because he wasn't mature and because Coughlin lost his grip on the team.
Who do you think's the best receiver right now in the NFL?
I mean, I like Jefferson. That's the guy that I go with.
How have the Vikings done?
Listen.
But he's the best receiver in the NFL. You need a great receiver. You need Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying it's the same thing, BT. I'm not saying I don't want good receivers.
I hear you.
How'd Miami do? What Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle? How's that worked out?
Well, I don't think they have the quarterback. Well, neither do the Giants.
How'd the Bills do with Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, but Sal, here's the thing, Sal.
All these great receivers.
Well, first of all, they were the best team. They were the class of the division for a couple years. That's how they did.
Okay.
I think that you're looking at the construction of an NFL team and saying that there's only one way to do it, which is wrong. What I'm saying is, I agree that Jones has to be gone at some point.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with saying we don't like the other quarterbacks. We don't love our current guy, but we love this cat at LSU.
Okay.
And we're bringing him in the building.
Right. So
then you build around him as you move forward.
Yeah. They're believing in Daniel Jones, and that's a major problem here. It's not about the player Malik Nabers. It's not about that. And Giant fans can be excited about all they want. I understand that. Buyer beware. Be warned, because you were excited about Saquon Barkley, you're excited about Odell Beckham Jr., you're excited about Evan Ingram. Skill position players taken that high is not the right way to build a team, especially when you have major other areas of need, specifically interior play and quarterback. I mean,
all right. Well, by the way, they addressed the O-line this offseason.
Yeah.
The Giants, very quietly.
Yeah.
Giants, brought some players in. BT and Sound on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends at Town Fair reminds you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. We have Grumpy Sal today. That's what we have. We have Grumpy Sal.
It's not Grumpy Sal. I love what the Jets did. I don't know how anybody doesn't want. The Jets did exactly what I wanted them to do. That is a smart franchise right there. Trading back a pick, still getting a dominant left tackle, plug him in for years to come. You want to be positive? Let's talk about the Jets. I love what they did. I'm surprised you don't love what the Jets did. It was actually a great day that showed some smarts. You build inside out. Don't get sucked into the tight end. My goodness. And you see who does take him? No. The Raiders. Yeah, great pick. I'm sure that's going to help the Raiders win a lot of football games moving forward.
Well, they got other issues. Pat's in Melville. Pat, BT and Sal, what's happening, buddy? How are you?
Hey, BTC, how you doing?
What's up, dude?
Just want to talk about the draft. Listen, I agree 100% with Sal. I mean, it's just there's no way the Giants could take a receiver there.
Why not? They don't have one.
Well, hold on. Hold on.
Go ahead.
How many Super Bowls did Megatron? Did you hope that Malik Nabers become like Megatron?
It's a different. Well, it's a bit of a different physical profile, but I get your point. Keep going.
I'm just saying he was a Hall of Fame receiver.
Yep.
And how much did they win?
Well, they had nothing around them besides a quarter. They had nothing around them.
And let me ask you a question. What does the Giants have around Malik Nabers?
Nothing. But without Malik Nabers, they literally have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat, you got
BT. You just proved my own point. They have nothing around Malik Nabers. He can't throw himself the ball. And when Daniel Jones gets hurt, just like Sal said, Then they're going to deal with then Drew Lock. I mean, it's just a dumb pick. They should have moved back. They should have tried to get alignment. They should have tried to get alignment if they weren't going to go to quarterback. I mean, alignment's going to be around. It's the highest percentage player position that actually hits in the draft. They just did another shiny toy move. And again, we're going to be picking in the top 3 next year again. Just mark my words.
I think that there are shiny new toy moves that you can really identify. And heck, some of you thought if Bowers went to the Jets, that would have been a shiny new toy kind of a move. Malik Nabers, under no circumstance, is a shiny toy move. I mean, I don't know what to tell people. If you watched Malik Nabers play football, you love this pick.
Right, but it's not about the player.
I understand that.
For me, it's not about the player. Same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. The Giants got a great wide receiver with Odell Beckham Jr. Oh, but they passed on Zach Martin and or Aaron Donald. Now, which one would you take if you could go back?
Okay,
and
we can do this with every team in the NFL, Sal.
Yeah. No, but,
this team passed on this guy. You can do it forever.
But it's about importance of the position. Wide receivers are not as important as everybody thinks in the fantasy football era. There are a ton of good wide receivers in the NFL. Better quarterbacks make other wide receivers even better, as a matter of fact. It is far and few between to find either the dominant defensive player, the dominant offensive tackle, dominant offensive, interior play offensive lineman, or the quarterback, which the Giants are in need of. This, to me, this pick in particular, when you need a quarterback and you take a wide receiver as opposed to trading down and maybe getting more picks or getting a quarterback even later, it shows that they believe in Daniel Jones. That's the problem with this pick, is that it's more about Daniel Jones.
And eventually, when he goes for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, all will be forgiven. 877-337-6666. BT and Sal here on The Fan. All right, Rich. Here, I pumped him up. Get him off there, Rich. I'll get back to you, buddy. We'll get to your calls here on a. Listen, I thought it was a good night. I thought both teams had a plan. I think both teams stuck to it. There were no crazy moves or Hail Marys or unsure moments in the war room. I like what the Giants did better. Certainly understanding what the Jets did. All in all, good night. These bad teams with bad records think they both got better. BT and Sal on The Fan.